In this episode, we're going to take a look at the Aputure Light Storm COB 120d. Now, back in May, we took a look at the COB 120t, which is a tungsten version of this same light. Now we have the daylight version. I'm very excited about the daylight version because often in my corporate video shoots, I need to mix light with existing daylight. So this is going to be really, really useful for me. So very much looking forward to this. Let's look at some of the similarities and differences. It's almost identical to the COB 120t, just a few things. First, let's look at color. In terms of color quality, we looked at a couple of things here. I actually shot the color chart here. This is an X-Rite color checker video, and I shot it with the COB 120d, tungsten light, and a very cheap older LED panel that I have. And I did the cheap LED panel to kind of show you a bad example of what happens in terms of color quality. So here, the main things we're looking at here is the vector scope. And the way to read a vector scope, if you're not familiar with it, this is where skin tones will generally fall on this white line here. Here are the color targets here. We have red, magenta, blue, cyan, green, and yellow. And the dots represent the different color chips you're seeing on the color chart here. And we would expect, for example, the red dots to fall within the red target here, or roughly there. And the closer the dots get to the edge, or the outer edge of the circle, that means the more saturated they are. So let's look first of all at the COB 120d. The nice thing here is it looks like the skin tone chips are falling pretty much right on the skin tone indicator line. Our reds are looking pretty decent in terms of their direction. They're off a little bit. But again, this is an interpretation of the camera to some extent. That's important to keep in mind in all of these that we're looking at. So it's a Panasonic GH4. Its sensor and color science interprets the colors a little bit differently than every other camera. But this is what we're seeing. So the reds are off a little bit. Magentas are looking pretty good. Blues are generally in the right direction. Cyan's looking good. Green's a little bit off, but not too bad. Yellows seem pretty much spot on. Then compared to the tungsten, you can see here that the skin tones actually moved away from the skin tone line a little bit. Not bad. And then red is actually a little bit more off than it was with the COB. The others are looking decent. The magenta's a little off. Blues are good. Cyan's good. Green's good. Yellow's good. So let's show you a very poor example. You can see here the skin tones on this. This is the very inexpensive LED panel from, I think I bought it 3 or 4 years ago. And you can see here that the skin tones definitely pull farther away from the skin tone indicator line. The reds are off some. The magenta's off. Blues are not bad, cyan's not bad, greens are off by quite a bit, and the yellows are pretty much spot on. So there's some examples you can see, and all this seemed, to me, with the testing I've done with this light, seemed to translate into practical, real-world examples. The COB 120d, in summary, does really, really well in terms of color rendering. Build quality, again, is exactly the same as the COB 120t. The control box is separate from the light head itself. That's useful so that if you have to fly the lights up high, you can keep the center of gravity a little lower and you can still access the controls. You also have a remote control, so you can actually control all of your Aputure Light Storm lights with the same remote. And that allows you to also put them into banks and control multiple units at the same time, which is really nice. So dim a bank of lights, so to speak. And overall, it's really solid. The body is aluminum. The fan is ultra quiet, and so it never interferes with sound in my tests so far, and I've been really happy with that. In terms of light output, this is a little bit different than some other lights you may be used to. It is actually a floodlight out of the box, so it comes with this reflector, and it floods very wide, actually 120-degree beam angle, which is super wide, which is nice if you need to flood very evenly, and that's what's beautiful about that. So in the future, Aputure will also be releasing a Fresnel lens along with some other accessories, and the Fresnel lens will allow you to really focus that beam of light so that it's much narrower and you can throw it a lot farther. In terms of output, we measured it with a light meter, and at 1 meter away, rather than just sight a bunch of lux or foot candles and things like that, what we found is that at ISO 200, 1/50th of a second shutter speed, we could go to Aputure f8. So that gives you a kind of a practical idea of how much light you can expect out of one of these at full power. At max power, you're pulling 144 watts, 1.2 amps here in the United States on a 120 volt circuit. So What that means in practical terms is even on most household circuits, you should be able to run 3 or 4 of these at full power. Just like the 120T, the 120D has a Bowens S mount, which means you can use all sorts of accessories. We reviewed the light dome and also the umbrella that Aputure has produced. And we're still looking forward to the Fresnel lens. I'm hoping that comes out here pretty soon. And also there'll be a beauty dish joining it. But of course, there are all sorts of accessories already available on the market for Bowens S mounts, so you can use any of those on these lights as well. The thing that's really nice about this mount is that makes it so that you can use it as a soft light, or as a floodlight, or even as a spotlight. So it becomes a super versatile light for you. When you buy the COB 120D, you have the choice of Anton Bauer battery mount or Sony V-mount battery mount. And what that means is you can battery power with one of those types of batteries. I have an Anton Bauer Digital 90 battery and was able to get these times. Obviously, if you dim the light, you can get a much longer time on the battery. Now, flickering is a challenge with LED lights in particular because of the LED technology. And I did some tests here with the COB 120D, and I was not able to get any flickering even when I tried. So when I cranked the shutter speed up to 200th of a second or 250th of a second, and I'm here in the United States, so we have 60 hertz power mains, and I wasn't able to get any sort of flicker. I also turned off the synchro scan feature in my Panasonic GH4, which is a camera I used, and even with that off, I still wasn't able to get any sort of flicker. So that's really good news. In terms of price, we'll see when this actually starts shipping. It looks like it's going to start shipping the start of the year at 2017. And if the pricing is the same as the COB 120T, what we're looking at probably is a price of $595 for the light alone, or $645 with this soft carrying case, which is really a nice thing to add as well. If you're going to be taking your lights on location, this is a really sturdy case. It's padded, and it seems like it'll hold up pretty nicely. Now, with every product, there's some cons, but none of the cons that I found here are really deal breakers. Let me just run through them really quickly. As I mentioned on the COB 120T, the knobs don't inspire the most confidence, but that being said, the same knobs I have on my Light Storm panels, and I have used those for over 18 months and still haven't broken one. So while they may not inspire the most confidence, I've got 18 months of history showing that I haven't broken any yet. So they're holding up pretty nicely. The remote is really nice, except there's one kind of quirky thing about it. Again, I wouldn't call this a major con, just something to know. When you first plug in the lights, you do have to manually turn it on with the power button on the control box, and then from there you can use the remote. Now, it's not really a con, especially at this price point, but it doesn't come with the barn doors, and it does not come with a Fresnel lens. So what it does come with is this reflector for flooding, and again, because of the price point, I wouldn't really necessarily expect those to be included. Overall summary, I really like this light, and in fact, my plan is as soon as they start shipping is to purchase 2 more of them. That'll be a 3-light kit for me, and it'll be very useful for me in my corporate video shoots where I often have to mix with existing daylight. What do I like about it? I really like that you can use it as a soft light, you can use it as a floodlight, you can use it as a hard light. It's very versatile, so you can use it for almost anything. It has plenty of light output, and the color quality is very, very good, as we saw earlier. So overall, I'm really happy with the COB 120D. Really glad to see that it's just around the corner, should start shipping again at the start of the year in 2017. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. And if you have not already subscribed, make sure you do that, and be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Talk to you soon.